Charlotte was 7 months pregnant. Pregnant when the numbness started in her right hand. She managed to text 911 to her millionaire husband. He read it immediately. 8:47 p.m. The read receipt proved it. But instead of calling for help, he did something unthinkable. He deleted her text and left their house. Security cameras captured everything. Him looking at his phone, him seeing his pregnant wife collapse on the bedroom floor, him walking away. Where did he go while Charlotte lay dying for 7 hours? To his mistress's birthday party. The Instagram post showed him laughing, arm around another woman, 8 minutes after reading that his wife was having a stroke. But that was just the beginning. What police found next was even more disturbing. A forged life insurance policy, deleted emergency messages, a pattern of preventing medical care, and a question that haunted everyone. Did Brett Whitmore try to murder his wife and unborn baby? This is the true story of one woman's survival, of the text message that should have saved her, and the husband who made sure it did not. Stay with me, because what happens next will shock you. The numbness started in Charlotte's right hand while she was folding tiny onesies. Tuesday evening, 7 months pregnant. Alone in the nursery, she had painted herself in soft yellow because Brett said he was too busy with work. The laundry basket sat at her feet, filled with impossibly small clothes. Newborn size, Carter's brand. The tag still attached because she liked to wash everything before the baby arrived. Charlotte picked up a white onesie with yellow ducks on it. Her right hand felt strange, heavy, like she had slept on it wrong, except she had been standing here folding laundry for 20 minutes. The onesie slipped from her fingers. She stared at her hand, flexed her fingers. They moved, but wrong, slow, disconnected, like watching someone else's hand through foggy glass. Her phone buzzed on the changing table. A text from Brett. Working late, don't wait up. The same text he had sent every Tuesday for 6 months. Charlotte used to ask questions, used to call and check in, used to suggest she bring him dinner at the office. He always said no, always said he was in meetings, always said she was being clingy. She stopped asking 3 months ago. Charlotte reached for her phone with her right hand. Missed. Tried again. Her fingers would not close around it properly. Something was wrong. She walked to the bathroom down the hall. Each step felt normal. Her legs worked fine. Just the hand, just the weird numbness. The bathroom light was too bright. Charlotte squinted at herself in the mirror above the sink. Her face looked back at her. Brown eyes, dark hair pulled into a messy bun, pale skin because she had not been outside much lately. Brett said she needed to rest more. Said the pregnancy was making her tired. Said she should stay home. Charlotte tried to smile at her reflection. The left side of her mouth curved up. The right side did not move. Her heart started pounding. She touched her face with her left hand. The right side felt numb, not completely. She could feel pressure, but it was distant, muffled. This was not normal. This was not pregnancy tiredness. This was something else. Charlotte tried to say her own name out loud. Charlotte. It came out wrong, slurred. Charlotte. Panic flooded through her, cold and sharp. She gripped the bathroom counter with her left hand. The right hand hung useless at her side. She needed help. She needed to call someone. She stumbled back to the nursery. Her phone was on the changing table. She grabbed it with her left hand, tried to unlock it. Her left thumb was clumsy. Took 3 tries. Call Brett. She tapped his name. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Voicemail. Brett, here, leave a message. Charlotte tried to speak. Brett, something wrong. Cannot talk right. Help. Her words were garbled, thick. Would he even understand? She hung up. Tried to think. What was she supposed to do? What were the signs of a stroke? Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. She had all 3. She needed to call 911, but if she called, they would ask questions and she could not talk properly. Could not form the words. Text, she could text. Charlotte opened her messages, tried to type with her left hand. Her right hand would not work at all anymore. 911 stroke can't talk help. She sent it to Brett first. He was her husband. He would see it. He would help. Then she tried to open the actual emergency services text line. Her fingers fumbled. The screen was too bright. Her vision was getting blurry around the edges. She managed to type the same message. 911 stroke can't talk help sent. Charlotte tried to add her address, but her fingers would not cooperate. The phone slipped from her left hand, clattered on the hardwood floor. She tried to bend down to get it. Her balance was off. She grabbed the edge of the changing table, lowered herself carefully to the floor. The baby kicked, hard, more forceful than usual. Charlotte put her left hand on her belly. It's okay, baby. Help is coming. Daddy will see the message. Help is coming. Her words barely sounded like words anymore. She lay down on the nursery floor. The rug was soft under her cheek, yellow and white chevron pattern. She had spent 2 hours picking out the perfect rug. Her phone was just out of reach. She could see the screen. No messages yet. But the time said 8:49 at night. Brett had read her text at 8:47. She could see the little read notification under her message to him. He saw it. He knew. Help was coming. Charlotte closed her eyes, just for a minute. Just until the paramedics arrived. Brett would have called them, would have explained, would have given them the address. The baby kicked again, insistent, worried. It's okay, Charlotte whispered. Daddy's coming. Help is coming. She believed it. She drifted. The world went soft and gray. Somewhere in that gray space, Charlotte heard things. Her phone buzzing. Once, twice, multiple times. She tried to reach for it. Could not move. Could not open her eyes properly. The sound of a door opening downstairs. The garage door. Was that Brett? Was he home? She tried to call out. Nothing came out but a weak sound. Footsteps downstairs. Then silence. Then the garage door again. A car starting. Driving away. That could not be right. Brett would not leave. Not when she needed help. Not when she sent that text. She was confused. The stroke was making her confused. Making her hear things wrong. Help was coming. It had to be coming. Charlotte let the gray take her under again. Brightness. Painful and sharp. Charlotte opened her eyes. Sunlight streamed through the nursery window. The blinds were still open from last night. Last night. How long had she been lying here? Her entire right side was numb. Completely numb. She could not feel her right arm or right leg. Could not move them. Panic tried to rise, but she pushed it down. She needed her phone. Needed to see if Brett called for help. Needed to know why no one came. Her phone was 3 feet away on the floor. She used her left arm to drag herself toward it. Pulled herself across the rug using her left leg. Her pregnant belly made it awkward. The baby was not kicking anymore. The baby. Oh God, the baby. Charlotte reached her phone. The screen was black. Dead battery? She dragged herself to the changing table. Grabbed the charging cord with her left hand. Plugged the phone in with shaking fingers. The screen lit up. 6% battery. Charging. The time said 7:23 in the morning. She had been lying on the floor for almost 11 hours. 11 hours. Why did no one come? Charlotte opened her messages with her left thumb. Her text thread with Brett was at the top. Her message from last night was there. 911 stroke can't talk help sent at 8:47 last night. Below it said read 8:47 p.m. He read it immediately, the moment she sent it. But below that read receipt was nothing. No response. No, I'm calling 911. No, I'm coming home. No, are you okay? Just his text from this morning, sent at 6:45. Stayed at Marcus's after drinks heading to office. Charlotte stared at the screen. He read her message that she was having a stroke and could not talk. He read it at 8:47 at night, and he sent nothing back until morning. And when he did send something, it was a casual text about staying at a friend's house. No, that was not possible. She scrolled up in their conversation, looking for something she missed. Some response she did not see. Nothing. She opened her sent messages. 3 texts sent last night, the one to Brett, the one to emergency services, and one to Jess. The emergency services text had a response. Address confirmation needed. She had not been able to type the address. Her fingers had stopped working. But Brett knew their address. Brett could have called, could have told them. Brett read her message. The read receipt proved it. 8:47 at night. He read it at 8:47 at night. Charlotte checked phone again, looked at location services. Where was Brett last night at 8:47? She could not access his phone location. He had turned off sharing months ago, said it was draining his battery, said she was checking on him too much, said she needed to trust him. But she had her own phone location history. She opened it last night at 8:47 that she had been home. Obviously, she had been dying on the nursery floor. Charlotte's left hand was shaking. She needed to call someone, needed help now. The baby had not moved in hours. She tried to call Jess, her best friend, pediatric nurse, would know what to do. Her mouth would not work right to talk. She managed to text instead. Left-handed typing was slow, but she managed. Help me. The letters were wrong, but close enough. She hit send. Then Charlotte lay back on the nursery floor and counted her breaths. In, out, waiting. The baby had to be okay. The baby had to move. Just one kick. Just one sign. Nothing. Charlotte closed her eyes, started counting ceiling tiles instead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If she could count to 100, the baby would move. If she could count to 100, help would come. If she could count to 100, this would not be real. 13, 14, 15. Her phone rang. Jess. Jess Palmer had a spare key to Charlotte's house. She had insisted on it 6 months ago when Brett started traveling more for work. Just in case, Jess had said, pregnant women need backup. Charlotte heard the front door open, heard Jess calling her name. Charlotte? Charlie? Where are you? Charlotte tried to answer. The sound that came out was not words. Footsteps pounding up the stairs. Running. Then Jess was in the doorway of the nursery. Her face went white. Oh my God. Charlie. Jess dropped to her knees beside Charlotte. Her nurse training kicked in immediately. Checked pulse. Checked pupil response. Saw the facial drooping. Saw the useless right side. How long have you been like this? Charlotte tried to answer. Long time. All night. All night? You've been on the floor all night? All night? Charlotte tried to nod. The movement was small. Jess grabbed her phone, called 911. Her voice was calm but urgent. I need an ambulance. My friend is 32 years old and 7 months pregnant. She's had a stroke. Facial drooping. Right side paralysis. Speech impairment. She's been down for approximately 11 hours. The dispatcher asked questions. Jess answered, gave the address, gave Charlotte's information. Said yes, she was breathing. Said yes, she was conscious. Said no, there was no one else there. Where's Brett? Jess asked Charlotte while waiting for the ambulance. Charlotte tried to point to her phone. Jess picked it up, looked at the screen. The text thread with Brett was still open. Jess's face changed. From concern to confusion to something cold and hard. He read this last night at 8:47. You texted him you were having a stroke and he read it. Charlotte tried to say yes. It came out as a weak sound. And he didn't respond. He didn't call 911. He didn't come home. Jess scrolled through the messages, saw Brett's casual text from this morning. Stayed at Marcus's after drinks. That son of a bitch. Charlotte had never heard Jess curse like that. Jess was religious, went to church every Sunday, did not swear. The ambulance sirens wailed outside. Jess ran downstairs to let them in. 2 paramedics rushed into the nursery with equipment and a gurney. They worked fast, asked Charlotte questions she could not answer properly, asked Jess questions instead. When did the stroke start? How long ago? Any other symptoms? They checked the baby's heartbeat with a handheld Doppler. The sound filled the nursery. Fast, fluttering, irregular. One paramedic looked at the other. We need to move now. Baby's in distress. They loaded Charlotte onto the gurney, strapped her in, started an IV in her left arm. The right arm was too weak. Jess followed them down the stairs and into the ambulance. Climbed in beside Charlotte, held her left hand. I've got you, Charlie. You are going to be okay. The baby's going to be okay. Charlotte wanted to believe her. The ambulance pulled away from the house, sirens screaming. Charlotte looked out the back window at her home. The house Brett said would be perfect for raising a family. The house with the nursery she painted herself. The house where she almost died alone. At the hospital, everything happened fast. They rushed Charlotte into the emergency room. A team of doctors and nurses surrounded her. Someone called for a neurologist. Someone else called for an OB/GYN. Charlotte lay on the hospital bed while people poked and prodded her, shined lights in her eyes, tested her reflexes, asked her to squeeze hands. She could only squeeze with her left hand. The right hand lay useless on the bed. A doctor with kind eyes and gray hair introduced herself. Charlotte, I'm Dr. Helen Greenberg. I'm a neurologist. We're going to do a CT scan and an MRI to see what's happening in your brain. Can you tell me when the symptoms started? Charlotte tried. Look, last night, 8, folding lawn dry. Around 8 last night? Charlotte nodded. And you didn't come to the hospital until now? That was almost 12 hours ago. Charlotte tried to explain, tried to tell her about the text, about Brett reading it and not responding. The words came out garbled. Jess stepped in. She texted her husband for help. He read the message and didn't respond. I have proof on her phone. Dr. Greenberg's expression shifted. May I see that? Jess handed over Charlotte's phone, showed her the text thread, showed her the timestamp, showed her the read receipt. Dr. Greenberg's jaw tightened. She looked at Charlotte. Charlotte, did your husband see this message? Charlotte nodded. And he didn't call for help? Charlotte shook her head. Dr. Greenberg looked at Jess. We need to report this. This is a delayed emergency response. There are protocols. She turned to a nurse. Page social services and call hospital security. We may need to involve police. Charlotte's vision blurred with tears. She was not crying about Brett. She was crying about the 12 hours she lost. 12 hours when doctors could have helped her, could have helped the baby. 12 hours that might have made all the difference. They wheeled her away for scans. The CT machine was loud. The MRI was louder. Charlotte lay still with her eyes closed and thought about nothing. If she thought about anything, she would break. When they brought her back to the emergency room, there was a police officer waiting. Young guy, maybe 30, serious face. He introduced himself as Officer Martinez, asked if he could ask Charlotte some questions. Charlotte tried to say yes. Officer Martinez pulled out a notepad. Ma'am, I understand you sent a text message last night asking for help. Can you tell me who you sent it to? Hugh Spann, Brett. And what time was that? Jess answered. 8:47. There's a timestamp and a read receipt. He read it immediately. Officer Martinez wrote that down. And where was your husband at 8:47 last night, Mrs. Whitmore? Charlotte tried to shrug, did not know. The movement was lopsided. He texted her this morning saying he stayed at a friend's house after drinks, Jess said. A guy named Marcus. Do you have this Marcus's contact information? Charlotte shook her head. Officer Martinez looked at Charlotte's phone, took photos of the text thread with his own phone. Documentation. Evidence. Mrs. Whitmore, I need to ask, do you feel safe at home? Charlotte thought about that. Did she feel safe? She had been lying on the floor for 12 hours. Her husband had read her emergency text and walked away. Was that safe? She shook her head slowly. Officer Martinez nodded. We're going to need to speak with your husband. Can you tell me where he works? Tech Company, Whitmore Tech. He's CEO. Officer Martinez raised his eyebrows. Brett Whitmore, the CEO? He's your husband? Charlotte nodded. All right, we'll follow up. You focus on getting better, Mrs. Whitmore. He left. Charlotte closed her eyes. She was so tired. Tired in a way that had nothing to do with the stroke. Dr. Greenberg returned an hour later with scan results. Jess was still there, had not left Charlotte's side. Charlotte, you had an ischemic stroke. A blood clot blocked blood flow to part of your brain. The damage is moderate but significant. You'll have ongoing challenges with speech and motor control on your right side. With therapy, you should regain some function, but it will take time. Charlotte absorbed this. Permanent damage. Her right hand might never work properly again. Her speech might always be impaired. What about the baby? Jess asked. Dr. Greenberg's expression was careful. The baby experienced prolonged oxygen deprivation. We're monitoring closely. Heart rate is irregular but stable. The OB/GYN will be in to discuss next steps. But Charlotte, I need to ask, why didn't you come to the emergency room when symptoms started? Couldn't talk. Couldn't call. You texted, though. You were able to text. Yes, texted Brett, texted 911. And your husband didn't respond to your text? Charlotte shook her head. Dr. Greenberg pulled up a chair, sat down at Charlotte's eye level. Charlotte, I've reviewed your medical history. You've been to this emergency room 3 times in the past 8 months. Each visit was for symptoms that are consistent with stroke warning signs, severe headaches, dizziness, vision problems, numbness. But each time you left against medical advice before we could do complete testing. Charlotte remembered those visits, remembered sitting in the emergency room waiting area, remembered Brett calling. Baby, you're fine. It's just stress, just pregnancy hormones. Come home. You don't need all these tests. You're overreacting. And she had listened, had signed the papers, had gone home. Each time you left, Dr. Greenberg continued, the notes say your husband called and you became distressed and departed. Charlotte, were you prevented from getting medical care? Charlotte thought about Brett's voice on those phone calls. Calm, reasonable, logical, making her feel silly for being there, making her feel like she was wasting everyone's time. She nodded slowly. Dr. Greenberg's expression hardened. I see. Thank you for being honest. That information is important. A commotion outside the room drew everyone's attention. Raised voices, someone arguing with the nurses. Then Brett burst through the door. He looked perfect. Expensive suit, hairstyled, like he had come straight from an important meeting. His face was arranged in concern. Baby, what happened? Why didn't you call me? Charlotte stared at him. At this man she had married 5 years ago. This man who read her text that she was having a stroke and deleted it. This man who left her dying on the floor. Jess stood up, positioned herself between Brett and Charlotte's bed. She did call you Brett, 8:47 last night. You read the text. Brett's face flickered, just for a second. Then the concerned husband mask was back. My phone was acting weird yesterday. Lots of texts didn't come through. I didn't see any emergency message. Officer Martinez stepped into the room. Charlotte had not realized he was still there. Sir, according to phone records, you received a text at 8:47 p.m. last night. The message was marked as read at 8:47 p.m. I'm telling you, I don't remember seeing any emergency text. If I had, I would have called 911 immediately. Of course I would have. Brett said it so smoothly, so convincingly. Charlotte almost believed him herself. But she knew what she had seen. The red receipt, 8:47. He saw it. Sir, Officer Martinez said, can you account for your whereabouts last night from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m.? Brett's pause was barely noticeable. Just 1 second. But Charlotte saw it. The calculation, the lie forming. I was at my business partner's house, Marcus Donnelly. We had drinks after work. I crashed there because I didn't want to drive. You can ask him. We'll need his contact information. He's in meetings all day. Major deal closing. I can have him call you tonight. We'll wait, Officer Martinez said. He pulled out his phone. I can look him up. Donnelly, you said? Charlotte watched Brett's jaw clench. Just slightly. She had been married to him for 5 years. She knew his tells. The slight jaw clench meant he was cornered, meant he was about to lie bigger. Actually, Brett said, I just remembered. Marcus might not be the best person to ask. We did have drinks, but I didn't stay at his place. I stayed at a hotel, the Hampton Inn off exit 12. I can show you the receipt. Officer Martinez wrote this down. Which room number? I don't remember. I can check my email for the confirmation. Jess pulled out her phone, started scrolling through something. Her face went pale, then hard. Brett, Jess said quietly, where were you at 8:55 last night? I told you, hotel. Really? Because Amber Sinclair posted on Instagram last night. 8:55 p.m. Location tagged at the Pinnacle Room. It's a private event space downtown, and you're in the photo. The room went silent. Brett's face drained of color. That must be an old photo. She must have reposted it. Jess turned her phone around, showed Officer Martinez, showed Dr. Greenberg, showed Charlotte. The photo was clear. Champagne tower, birthday balloons, people in cocktail attire. And there in the background was Brett, arm around a young blonde woman. Both of them laughing. The woman was blowing out candles on a cake. The caption said, "Best birthday ever. Thanks to my amazing boss for making tonight perfect." Tagged with Brett's Instagram handle. The timestamp said 8:55 p.m., 8 minutes after he read Charlotte's stroke text. Officer Martinez zoomed in on the photo. "Sir, this photo was posted live last night. It has a geotag and timestamp. You're clearly visible. This was 8 minutes after your wife texted you about having a stroke." Brett's mask cracked. Charlotte saw rage flash across his face, then panic, then cold calculation. "I can explain." "Please do," Officer Martinez said. But Charlotte did not want to hear his explanation, did not want to hear whatever lie he constructed. She turned her head away from him, looked at the wall instead. Her right hand lay useless on the hospital bed. Her speech was broken. Her baby's heart was beating irregularly. And her husband had been at a party. He chose a party over her life. Charlotte's inner voice was clear and certain. No questions, just truth. "I'm not crazy. I know what I saw. That red receipt is proof he left me to die." Brett tried to leave the hospital room. Officer Martinez blocked the doorway. "Sir, I'm going to need you to stay and answer questions." "I don't have to answer anything without my lawyer." "That's your right. But your wife is lying in a hospital after suffering a stroke that could have been prevented if she'd received timely care. And evidence shows you were at a party 8 minutes after reading her emergency text. So either you help us understand what happened, or we escalate this investigation." Brett's face went through several expressions. Charlotte watched him cycle through options. Anger, denial, charm, finally landing on wounded innocence. "Look, I can see how this looks, but you don't understand. Charlotte has been having issues lately. Anxiety, depression, pregnancy hormones. She sends dramatic texts all the time. I thought she was just being emotional again." Charlotte felt Jess's hand tighten on her left hand, squeezing, supportive, angry. "Sir," Officer Martinez said, "the text said stroke. That's pretty specific. She said she was dying before, multiple times, over a headache, over feeling dizzy. I've rushed home so many times for false alarms. I thought this was another one." Dr. Greenberg spoke up. "Mr. Whitmore, your wife had 3 emergency room visits in 8 months with stroke warning signs. Did you know that? She gets anxious, makes everything into a crisis. The medical notes indicate you called her during each visit and convinced her to leave against medical advice before we could complete testing that would have caught this stroke risk." Brett's jaw clenched again. "I was trying to save her from unnecessary stress, from invasive tests she didn't need. I was protecting her." Charlotte tried to speak. "You weren't protecting me." Everyone looked at her. It was the longest sentence she had managed since the stroke. "Baby," Brett said. His voice went soft, gentle. The voice he used when he wanted something. "You know I love you. I would never hurt you. This is all a misunderstanding." "Who's Amber?" Charlotte managed to ask. Brett froze. Jess held up her phone, still showing the Instagram photo. "Amber Sinclair, 28 years old. Your executive assistant according to her bio. The one whose birthday party you were at last night, while your wife was dying. She works for me. It was a company event. At 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, at an event space that costs $500 an hour to rent? That's some company party." Officer Martinez took Jess's phone, scrolled through Amber's Instagram profile. His eyebrows went up. "Sir, there are a lot of photos here of you and Miss Sinclair. Dinners, company trips. This one is from 3 weeks ago in Santa Barbara." "That was a business trip." "You told me you went to Santa Barbara for work alone," Charlotte said. The words were slow but clear. "You said no spouses allowed." Brett's face tightened. "It was a business trip. Amber came as my assistant. That's her job." Officer Martinez kept scrolling. "There are over 50 photos of you two together going back 18 months. That's a lot of business dinners." "She's my assistant. We work closely." "In her bio, she has a link to her blog," Jess said. She had pulled it up on her phone. "The most recent post is from 3 months ago. It's called My Journey to Happiness. She talks about finding love in an unexpected place, about a man who makes her feel special. about planning a future together. She doesn't name names, but the details match you, Brett. The room fell silent. Charlotte stared at Brett, waited for the denial, waited for the explanation. Instead, he said, I want my lawyer. I'm not saying anything else without counsel present. That's fine, Officer Martinez said, but I need you to stay in town. We're opening a formal investigation into delayed emergency response and potential negligent conduct. We'll be in touch. Brett looked at Charlotte. For just a moment, his mask slipped completely. She saw cold fury in his eyes. Not regret, not shame. Fury that he got caught. Then he walked out. After Brett left, the room felt different. Lighter, like pressure releasing. A nurse came in to check Charlotte's vitals. Blood pressure still high, heart rate still elevated, baby's heart rate still irregular. We need to keep you here for observation, the nurse said. Her name tag said Valerie Rodriguez. She had kind eyes and efficient hands. At least 48 hours, possibly longer depending on the baby. Charlotte nodded. She was not going anywhere. Dr. Greenberg sat down again. Charlotte, I need to tell you something about your medical records. Charlotte waited. When I reviewed your files, I noticed a pattern. Every time you came to the emergency room with concerning symptoms, your husband was called. Every time he convinced you to leave. But there's more. After each visit, you canceled follow-up appointments. 3 separate neurologist appointments. 2 cardiology consults. An OB/GYN high-risk pregnancy evaluation. All canceled, usually the same day they were made. I didn't cancel those. According to the notes, someone called from your phone number and canceled them, saying you were feeling better and didn't need to be seen. Charlotte's left hand curled into a fist. Brett has my password, has access to my phone. Dr. Greenberg nodded slowly. I thought that might be the case. Charlotte, I have to ask, how long has your husband been preventing you from getting medical care? Charlotte thought back. When had it started? The first time she mentioned feeling dizzy and he said it was just pregnancy. The first time she had a bad headache and he told her to take Tylenol and stop worrying. The first time she wanted to call her doctor and he said she was being dramatic. Long time, Charlotte said. Year, maybe more. And the affair with his assistant, did you know about that? Charlotte shook her head, but even as she did, she realized that was not quite true. She had known something was wrong, had felt it. The late nights, the business trips, the way he stopped touching her even before she got pregnant, the way he flinched when she tried to hold his hand. She had known. She just had not let herself know. Dr. Greenberg squeezed Charlotte's hand. You're safe now. We're going to take care of you and the baby. And Charlotte, between you and me, what your husband did was criminal, knowingly failing to render aid during a medical emergency. I've already documented everything in your medical file. The police will have what they need. After Dr. Greenberg left, Charlotte lay in the hospital bed staring at the ceiling tiles. Different ceiling than her nursery. White acoustic tiles instead of smooth plaster, but she counted them anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was the only thing that kept her from screaming. Jess stayed all day, bought Charlotte lunch from the cafeteria even though Charlotte could barely swallow. Held the straw for her water cup because Charlotte's right hand would not grip. Around 3 in the afternoon, Charlotte's mother arrived. Patricia Morrison was 60 years old with silver hair and no patience for nonsense. She took one look at Charlotte in the hospital bed and started crying. Not loud crying, quiet tears that slipped down her cheeks while she hugged Charlotte carefully. My baby, my sweet girl, I'm so sorry. Not your fault, Mama. Where's that husband of yours? Where's Brett? Jess filled Patricia in, told her everything, the text message, the read receipt, the party, the mistress. Patricia's face went from sad to furious. I never liked that boy. Thought he was too smooth, too practiced. Your father would have killed him. Charlotte's father had died 5 years ago. Heart attack at 55. If he were alive, Brett never would have dared treat Charlotte this way. Her father had been a quiet man but fierce when it came to protecting his family. Charlotte missed him so much it hurt worse than the stroke. Patricia settled into the chair beside Charlotte's bed. I'm staying, don't argue. I'm staying until we figure this out. Charlotte had no intention of arguing. She wanted her mother, wanted to be someone's child again instead of someone's wife, wanted to be protected instead of abandoned. Daniel arrived around dinner time. Charlotte's younger brother, 29 years old, software developer. Lived 40 minutes away but came as soon as Patricia called him. He looked at Charlotte in the hospital bed, his face crumpled. Charlie. Hey, Danny. He sat on the edge of her bed, took her left hand in both of his. Jess told me what Brett did. I'm going to kill him. No, you're not. I'm going to hurt him then. Also, no. I'm going to do something. Charlotte squeezed his hand. You're going to stay here with me. That's what I need. Daniel nodded, wiped his eyes roughly with his sleeve. Okay, yeah, I can do that. They sat together in the hospital room. Charlotte and her family. Her real family. Not the one she married into. The one that actually showed up when she needed them. Around 8 p.m., Valerie the nurse came back in. She looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Whitmore, I need to tell you something. Off the record. Everyone looked at her. I shouldn't be showing you this. It's technically private, but I think you need to see it. Your medical records, specifically the notes from your 3 emergency room visits. She pulled up something on the computer, turned the screen so Charlotte could see. The first visit, 6 months ago, chief complaint, severe headache, and vision changes. Assessment, stroke, risk warning signs, recommend immediate CT scan and neurology consult. Patient's husband called during examination. Patient became agitated, signed AMA form and left before testing completed. The second visit, 4 months ago. Chief complaint, dizziness and right-sided numbness. Assessment TIA risk recommend immediate hospitalization and monitoring. Patient's husband called. Patient declined admission and departed AMA. The third visit, 2 months ago. Chief complaint, severe headache, unresponsive to medication and facial tingling. Assessment stroke, red flags recommend emergency MRI and neurology consultation. Patient's husband arrived, long discussion in hallway. Patient subsequently declined all testing and left AMA. Every single time, Valerie said quietly, you had warning signs, real warning signs. And every single time treatment was interrupted. If you had stayed during any of those visits, we could have caught this. We could have prevented this stroke. Charlotte stared at the notes. At the medical terminology that meant her husband had essentially caused her stroke. Not by hitting her, not by pushing her, but by systematically preventing her from getting help. He tried to kill me, Charlotte said. The words came out clear, certain, not quick, slow. He tried to kill me, slow. No one disagreed. That night, Charlotte lay in the dark hospital room. Her mother dozed in the recliner chair. Daniel had gone home to get Charlotte some clothes and toiletries. Jess had finally gone home to her own family. Charlotte was alone with her thoughts for the first time since the stroke. She thought about her marriage. 5 years. She thought about how it started. Brett had been charming, attentive, romantic, swept her off her feet with expensive dates and grand gestures, proposed after 6 months with a ring that cost more than her car. Her friends said it was too fast. Her father said he seemed insincere. But Charlotte had been in love, had thought she found her person. When had it changed? When had the charm turned to control? When had the attention turned to isolation? It was not one moment, it was 1,000 small moments. Him suggesting she did not need to work so hard. Him saying her friends were bad influences. Him telling her she worried too much about her health. Him making her doubt herself at every turn. She had been so busy trying to be a good wife that she missed becoming a prisoner. The baby kicked, weak but present. Charlotte put her left hand on her belly. I'm sorry, little one. Sorry you got him for a father. Sorry I didn't see it sooner. But we're going to be okay. I promise you we're going to be okay. Her phone buzzed on the bedside table. A text message from a number she did not recognize. You don't know me, but I saw the police at your house today. I'm your neighbor 3 doors down. I want you to know I have security camera footage from last night. It might help. Call me when you're able. Charlotte stared at the message. Security footage. Proof of what really happened last night. She forwarded the message to Officer Martinez, typed slowly with her left thumb. Neighbor has video. Please check. Then she lay back and counted her heartbeats instead of ceiling tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At heartbeat 112, she finally fell asleep. The next morning, Detective Sarah Chen arrived. She was Officer Martinez's superior, older, more experienced. She introduced herself and asked if Charlotte was well enough to answer questions. Charlotte nodded. Her speech was slightly better after a night's rest, still slurred but more understandable. Mrs. Whitmore, we received security footage from your neighbor. I need to show you something. It's difficult to watch. Are you ready? Charlotte nodded again. Detective Chen pulled out a tablet, pulled up a video file. This is from the camera aimed at your driveway. It has a partial view of your front windows. The timestamp starts at 8:40 p.m. last night. She pressed play. The video was in color but grainy. Charlotte could see her house. The nursery window on the second floor was lit up. She could see her own shadow moving inside. Folding laundry, 8:42 p.m. Charlotte's shadow stopped moving, stood still for a long moment, then stumbled toward the door. 8:45 p.m. The bedroom light came on. Charlotte's shadow visible through that window, moving slowly, erratically. 8:47 p.m. Charlotte's shadow collapsed, disappeared from view. The bedroom light stayed on but no movement. 8:47 p.m. A different light came on downstairs. Brett's home office. His shadow visible through that window, sitting at his desk, phone in hand, looking at it. Charlotte watched Brett's shadow on the screen, watched him look at his phone, watched him stand up, watched him walk toward the doorway of his office, heading toward the stairs, then stop, look at his phone again, turn around, go back to his desk, 8:51 p.m. Brett's office light went off, the garage door opened, a car backed out. Brett's Mercedes drove away. The bedroom light stayed on. Charlotte's shadow did not reappear. 9:03 p.m. The bedroom light turned off automatically, on a timer. Charlotte had set it that way so she would not have to get up to turn off lights when she was heavily pregnant. The room stayed dark. No movement, no shadows. Just an empty house with a woman dying on the floor. 7:15 a.m. Brett's Mercedes returned, pulled into the garage. Garage door closed. 7:23 a.m. Charlotte's shadow appeared in the nursery window, dragging herself across the floor toward her phone. Detective Chen paused the video. Charlotte realized she was crying, silent tears running down her face. Her mother was crying too. Daniel had his fist pressed against his mouth. Mrs. Whitmore, Detective Chen said gently, I need to ask, did your husband come upstairs at any point last night? Did he check on you? Charlotte shook her head. Never came up, left me. The video shows him in his office at 8:47 when you texted him. He looked at his phone. He saw the message. He started toward the stairs, then stopped and went back to his desk. 4 minutes later, he left the house. Is that accurate? Yes. Where did he go? Partai Mistress birthday. Detective Chen nodded. We're looking into that. There's more I need to show you. This is harder. She pulled up another file. We executed a search warrant on your home this morning. With your permission, we accessed your home security system. Did you know you had cameras inside your house? Charlotte shook her head. Brett had installed them, said it was for security while he traveled. She thought they were only outside. There's a camera in your bedroom, disguised as a smoke detector. It captured everything. She pressed play on a new video. This one was from inside Charlotte's bedroom. Clear view of the doorway and part of the hall. The timestamp started at 8:45 p.m. Charlotte watched herself stumble into the bedroom, watched herself try to get her phone, watched herself collapse near the door. 8:47 p.m. The sound of footsteps on the stairs. Brett's footsteps. Charlotte knew that sound, had heard it 1,000 times. The footsteps stopped at the top of the stairs, just out of camera view, silence. Then Brett's voice. Quiet, like he was talking to himself. Oh shit. More silence. Then his footsteps going back downstairs, fast, not helping, running away. The camera had audio. It picked up everything. Charlotte's labored breathing, the baby's monitor on the dresser beeping softly, the sound of Brett's car starting in the garage. Then nothing. Hours of nothing. Just Charlotte's breathing getting shallower, the monitor beeping, the house settling. Detective Chen stopped the video. Mrs. Whitmore, this footage shows that your husband was aware you had collapsed. He saw you. He chose to leave. This is no longer about a missed text message. This is about knowingly failing to render aid. This is criminal. Charlotte could not speak, could not process. Brett had been right there, right outside the bedroom, had seen her on the floor, had said, "Oh shit," and walked away. "There's one more thing," Detective Chen said. "We have evidence that someone accessed your phone remotely at 8:53 p.m. Someone deleted your text message to the emergency services number, deleted it from their system before it could be dispatched. We're tracing the IP address, but we believe it came from your husband's phone." Charlotte's world tilted. He did not just ignore her message. He actively deleted it, made sure no one could help her. Why? Charlotte whispered. "Why would he do that?" Detective Chen looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Whitmore, were you aware that your life insurance policy was increased 3 months ago?" "What?" "Your life insurance. It was $500,000. 3 months ago, it was increased to $3 million. You're listed as the insured. Your husband is the sole beneficiary." The room spun. Charlotte gripped the bed rail with her left hand. "I never signed that." "We obtained the insurance application. There's a signature. Can you look at it and tell me if it's yours?" Detective Chen showed her a document on the tablet. The application for increased life insurance. $3 million. Term life. Beneficiary Brett Whitmore. At the bottom was a signature. Charlotte Morrison Whitmore. Charlotte stared at it. The signature was close. Very close. But wrong. The loop on the C was too big. The tail on the W too short. "Not mine. Fake." "You're saying this signature was forged?" "Yes, I never saw this before." Detective Chen and Officer Martinez exchanged looks. "Mrs. Whitmore," Detective Chen said, "combined with the security footage in the deleted text message, we have grounds to file charges. Attempted manslaughter, reckless endangerment, insurance fraud, falsifying documents. This is serious." Charlotte nodded. "Good. Let it be serious. Let Brett face consequences." Patricia spoke up. "What about my daughter's safety? That man tried to kill her. What's stopping him from trying again?" "We're issuing a restraining order. Mr. Whitmore cannot come within 500 feet of Charlotte or contact her in any way. We're also freezing their joint accounts pending investigation." "He'll just use his own money," Daniel said. "We're aware, but it limits his access to marital assets for now." A new nurse entered the room. Young, nervous. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'm sorry to interrupt. There's a woman here to see you. She says it's urgent. Her name is Rebecca Thornton." "Do you know her?" Patricia asked Charlotte. Charlotte shook her head. "Should I send her away?" Jess appeared in the doorway. She must have arrived during the video viewing. "No, Rebecca Thornton is a family law attorney, one of the best in the state. I called her last night, asked her to come." Rebecca Thornton entered. She was 45 with sharp eyes and an expensive suit. She shook Charlotte's left hand. "Mrs. Whitmore, I've reviewed the basics of your case. I'd like to represent you, pro bono if necessary. What your husband did is unconscionable and I want to help." "Why pro bono?" Charlotte asked. "Can't afford big lawyer." "Because what happened to you could happen to any woman. Because men like your husband need to face consequences. Because I have resources and I want to use them for good. So what do you say? Will you let me help?" Charlotte looked at Jess, at her mother, at Daniel, at Detective Chen, at all these people who had shown up for her, who believed her, who wanted to protect her. "Yes, please help." Rebecca sat down, pulled out her own tablet. "Good. Now let's talk strategy. First, we're filing for emergency custody once the baby is born, then divorce based on fault, adultery, fraud, cruel treatment. We're going for full custody, maximum child support, and division of assets that reflects his conduct. He's going to pay for what he did in every way possible." "He has good lawyers," Charlotte said. "Has money." "So do I, and I'm better, trust me." For the first time since the stroke, Charlotte felt something that was not fear or grief. She felt anger, clean and sharp and righteous. Brett tried to kill her, tried to cash in on her death, tried to erase her so he could play house with his mistress. He failed. She survived. And now she was going to make sure he regretted it. That afternoon, Charlotte had visitors she did not expect. Brett's business partner, Marcus Donnelly, showed up. He looked uncomfortable. Guilty. Charlotte, I need to talk to you. Patricia stood up, positioned herself between Marcus and Charlotte's bed. You can leave. Please, I need to say this. I need her to hear it. Charlotte nodded. Let him speak. Marcus sat in the visitor chair, could not meet Charlotte's eyes. I knew. About Amber. About the affair I've known for months, maybe longer. Brett swore it meant nothing. Swore he'd end it. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. He looked up finally. But I should have told you. Should have warned you. I was a coward. I chose my business partnership over doing the right thing. I chose protecting Brett over protecting you. And I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry, Charlotte. Charlotte studied him. Marcus had been Brett's friend before he was hers. They had been college roommates, had started the company together. She had always known where Marcus's loyalty lay, but he was here now, confessing. That meant something. Why now, Charlotte asked. Why tell me this now? Because I saw the news, about the stroke, about the text message, about Brett being at Amber's party, and I realized I've been protecting a monster. Brett called me this morning, asked me to lie for him, to say he was at my place all night, to give him an alibi. What did you say? I said no. I said I'm done lying for him. I said he needs to face what he did. He called me a traitor, said I'm destroying the company, said he'll sue me. Marcus leaned forward. Charlotte, I'm going to help you. However I can, I'll testify, I'll provide financial records, I'll do whatever it takes because you deserve better. You deserve someone to speak up, and I didn't. But I am now. Charlotte wanted to hate him, wanted to tell him his help was too late. But she could hear the genuine remorse in his voice, see the guilt on his face. Okay, she said. Help then. Tell the truth. Marcus nodded, stood up. There's something else you should know. Brett took out a loan against the company 3 months ago, $2 million. I thought it was for expansion, but now I'm wondering if it was to pay the life insurance premiums. He needed you dead to pay back the loan. Charlotte's breath caught. It was worse than she thought. Brett did not just want her dead for the insurance money. He needed her dead. He was in financial trouble. Thank you for telling me. After Marcus left, Charlotte lay back against the pillows. Every new piece of information made it worse, made it clearer. Brett had planned this, had created conditions where she would have a stroke, had prevented treatment, had increased the insurance, had waited for her to die. When the stroke finally happened, he saw his opportunity. Let her lie there for hours, deleted the emergency text, went to party with his mistress while Charlotte died alone. Except she did not die. She survived. And now he was trapped, caught, exposed. Charlotte put her left hand on her belly. The baby kicked. Stronger now, more regular. We're fighters, baby girl. Both of us, we're going to win. Evening came. Daniel returned with clothes for Charlotte, sweatpants and t-shirts that would be easy to get on with limited mobility. He also brought Charlotte's laptop. Thought you might want this, to keep your mind busy. Charlotte opened the laptop with her left hand, checked her email. There were hundreds of messages. Word had spread somehow. Friends from college, former co-workers, neighbors, all asking if she was okay, all offering help. There was also an email from Brett. Subject line, we need to talk. Charlotte almost deleted it, but curiosity won. She opened it. Charlotte, I know you're angry. I know this looks bad, but you have to understand my side. You've been so difficult lately, so demanding, always texting me, always wanting to know where I am. I felt suffocated. Yes, I was at Amber's party. Yes, we've been seeing each other, but it's not what you think. You pushed me to it. You made me feel trapped in our marriage. Made me feel like nothing I did was good enough. I'm sorry you had a stroke. I'm sorry I didn't realize how serious your text was. But you have to admit you tend to be dramatic. You've cried wolf so many times. How was I supposed to know this time was real? We can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can save our marriage. But you need to drop these legal accusations. You need to tell the police this was all a misunderstanding. If you don't, you're going to ruin my life. Ruin our baby's life. Is that what you want? Think about it. Really think. Do you want to be a single mother? Do you want our child growing up without a father? Do you want to lose everything we've built? Be reasonable, Charlotte. For our baby's sake. Brett, Charlotte read the email twice, then showed it to Rebecca, who had stayed late to work on legal filings. Rebecca's face went hard. He's trying to gaslight you. Classic Darvo. Deny, an attack. Reverse victim and offender. He's making himself the victim. Making you the villain. Is it working? Not on me, and I hope not on you. Charlotte, he watched you collapse and walked away. That's attempted murder. Nothing you did caused that. Nothing you did justified that. Charlotte knew Rebecca was right, but part of her, the part that had spent 5 years trying to be a good wife, wondered. Had she been too needy, too demanding, too dramatic? No, she shook that thought away. That was Brett's voice in her head. Not her voice. Her voice said different things. Her voice said clear truths. I deserved help when I asked for it. I deserved safety. I deserved a husband who didn't let me die on the floor. I deserved better than this. Charlotte typed a response to Brett's email. One sentence. Left-handed and slow, but determined. Stay away from me and my baby. She hit send, then she blocked his email address, blocked his phone number, deleted him from her social media, deleted him from her life. Good, Rebecca said. Now let's make sure he faces consequences. That night, Charlotte slept better. Not because things were better, but because she was done being confused, done questioning herself, done wondering if she was overreacting. Brett left her to die. That was the truth. Everything else was just noise. The next morning started with pain, sharp, sudden, radiating from Charlotte's belly. She gasped, grabbed her stomach with her left hand. The baby had been kicking all night, restless, active. But this was different. Valerie was doing morning vitals. She saw Charlotte's face. What's wrong? Hurts. Something wrong. Valerie hit the call button. Within seconds, Dr. Greenberg was there, and an OBGYN Charlotte had not met before. Dr. Maria Santos, young, serious. They examined Charlotte, checked the baby's heart rate. Dr. Santos's expression grew concerned. The baby's in distress. Heart rate is dropping. We need to do an ultrasound. They wheeled in the portable machine, the cold gel on Charlotte's belly, the wand pressing, the grainy image on screen. Dr. Santos pointed. There, the placenta is separating. Placental abruption. The baby's not getting enough oxygen. What does that mean? Patricia asked. She had stayed overnight again. It means we need to deliver now, emergency C-section. The baby's at 28 weeks. That's early but viable. We have a good NICU, but we need to move fast. Charlotte's heart raced. 28 weeks. The baby was not supposed to come for 12 more weeks. Too early, too small. Is the baby okay? She will be. Once we get her out. Charlotte, I need your consent. This is major surgery. There are risks, but the alternative is worse. Charlotte did not hesitate. Do it. Save her. They moved fast, wheeled Charlotte to the OR. Patricia and Daniel had to stay behind. Charlotte was alone with strangers in surgical masks. Jess appeared in scrubs. Hey, I pulled some strings. I'm staying with you. Charlotte wanted to cry with relief. Jess took her left hand, squeezed. The anesthesiologist explained the spinal block. Charlotte would be awake but numb from the chest down. She would not feel the surgery, but she would hear everything. The needle in her spine, the spreading numbness, the surgical drape blocking her view, the pressure and pulling she could feel but not quite feel. Scalpel. Clamp. Opening uterus. Medical terminology that meant they were cutting her open to save her baby. Charlotte focused on Jess's face, on breathing, in, out, in, out. I've got the baby. A pause that lasted forever. Then a sound, weak but real, a crybaby. Charlotte gasped. Is she okay? She's breathing, small but fighting. The NICU team has her. They lifted the baby briefly over the drape. Charlotte saw her for just a second. Tiny, red, wrinkled, covered in vernix. The most beautiful thing Charlotte had ever seen. Hi, baby. Hi, Grace. Mama's here. Mama's got you. Then they whisked her away to the NICU. Charlotte lay on the table while they stitched her back together. Took what felt like hours, but was probably 30 minutes. When they wheeled Charlotte to recovery, Patricia was there. I saw her. I saw Grace. She's so tiny, Charlie. So perfect. Is she okay? She's on oxygen, in an incubator, but she's stable. The doctors say she's a fighter. Charlotte closed her eyes. Grace, named after Brett's grandmother, who Charlotte had never met. But Charlotte did not care about honoring Brett's family anymore. Grace Patricia Morrison. No Whitmore, just Morrison. Charlotte would change her own name back too, erase Brett from both their lives. Recovery was hard. The C-section pain on top of the stroke complications. Charlotte could not hold Grace yet, could not even visit the NICU for 2 days, had to heal enough to be moved in a wheelchair. When they finally wheeled her up to the NICU, Charlotte was not prepared for what she saw. Grace was so small, 5 pounds 3 ounces, in a plastic incubator, wires everywhere, monitor leads on her tiny chest, IV in her impossibly small hand, oxygen cannula in her nose, feeding tube in her mouth. Charlotte started crying. Oh, baby, I'm sorry. So sorry. The NICU nurse was kind. She's doing well, actually. Good oxygen saturation, taking feeds. No signs of brain bleeds or infections. Preemies born at 28 weeks have good outcomes, usually. Can I touch her? Yes, through the portholes. Charlotte reached into the incubator with her left hand. Her right hand still would not work properly. Grace's skin was soft, warm. Her hand was smaller than Charlotte's thumb. Charlotte touched Grace's tiny fingers. Grace's hand opened, closed around Charlotte's finger. That grip, that impossibly strong grip. She knows you, the nurse said. She knows her mama. Charlotte sat there for an hour, just touching Grace's hand, talking to her, telling her about the world she would see, about the life they would have, about being strong. You and me, baby girl, we're survivors. Both of us. We're going to be okay. That night, Charlotte was alone in her hospital room. Grace was stable in the NICU 2 floors up. Patricia and Daniel had gone home to sleep. Jess was working a night shift in the pediatric ward. It was 2 in the morning. Charlotte could not sleep. The C-section incision hurt. The stroke damage was still there. Right hand still weak. Speech still impaired. And Grace was in a plastic box 2 floors away. Charlotte stared at the ceiling, counted tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4. What if the court decided Charlotte was too damaged to parent? What if they looked at her weak hand and slurred speech and decided Brett was the better option? What if Grace grew up calling Amber mom? What if Charlotte had survived the stroke but lost everything anyway? The thoughts spiraled, dark and heavy. Charlotte tried to push them away, but they kept coming. She was broken, damaged, impaired. Would she ever be normal again? Would she ever hold her daughter with both hands? Would she ever speak clearly? Would anyone ever love her again? Or was she stuck, alone forever? A single mother with disabilities and trauma. The panic rose in her chest, made it hard to breathe. The room felt too small, the walls too close. Charlotte tried to reach for the call button. It was on her right side, her weak side. She could not quite grasp it, could not make her fingers work. She was trapped. Again, like on the nursery floor, helpless, alone. The fear was overwhelming. Charlotte closed her eyes, tried to breathe through it, in, out, but the thoughts would not stop. What if I can't do this? What if I'm too broken? What if surviving was the worst thing that could have happened because now I have to figure out how to live like this? Charlotte had fought so hard to survive, to protect Grace, to hold Brett accountable. But lying there in the dark hospital room, she wondered if it was worth it. The door opened quietly. Valerie slipped in. Night shift. She saw Charlotte's face, did not ask questions, just pulled up a chair. Valerie pulled out knitting needles and pink yarn, started working. Click, click, click. The needles rhythmic, soothing. Charlotte watched, focused on the movement, the repetition, anything to stop the spiral in her head. Finally, she whispered, I can't do this. Valerie kept knitting. Can't do what? Any of it. Be a mother like this. Be alone. Start over. You're not starting over. You're starting new. That's different. I'm broken. You're healing. That's not the same as broken. My hand doesn't work. My words come out wrong. How do I hold a baby like this? Valerie paused her knitting, looked at Charlotte. You hold her with one hand. You speak to her with love, even if the words are slow. You do the best you can. That's all any mother does. What if best not good enough? Charlotte, you survived your husband trying to kill you. You delivered a baby 2 months early. You're fighting in court to protect your daughter. You're already more than good enough. Charlotte wanted to believe her, wanted to feel the strength Valerie saw in her. But all she felt was tired, broken, scared. Valerie went back to knitting. I'm making Grace a hat. Preemies get cold easy. They need lots of hats. I'll teach you to make them too, if you want. Something to do one-handed while she's sleeping. I don't know how to knit. I'll teach you, give you something to focus on besides the fear. Charlotte watched the needles move, in and out, over and under, creating something from nothing. Pink yarn becoming tiny hat for a tiny baby. Maybe that was healing. Taking broken pieces and making something new. Charlotte's breathing slowed. Heart rate dropped back to normal. The panic eased. She was not okay. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time, but she was here. Breathing, fighting. That had to count for something. Thank you, Charlotte whispered, for sitting with me. Anytime. I work nights all week. I'll be here. Valerie stayed until Charlotte fell asleep. When Charlotte woke at dawn, Valerie was gone. But on the bedside table was a small pink hat, soft and perfect, with a note. For Grace, from one fighter to another. Charlotte held the hat in her left hand, pressed it to her chest, felt the softness against her skin. She could do this, one day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time. She was still here. That was enough. Charlotte was released from the hospital 4 days after Grace was born, but Grace had to stay. NICU babies went home when they were ready, not before. It hurt to leave her, to walk out of the hospital without her baby. Patricia drove Charlotte to her childhood home, not the mansion Charlotte shared with Brett. Patricia's small 3-bedroom ranch where Charlotte grew up. Daniel had already set up Charlotte's old bedroom as a nursery, crib, changing table, rocking chair, all secondhand but clean and safe. We'll bring her home here, Daniel said. When she's ready. This is home now. Charlotte sat on her childhood bed, the same bed where she had slept as a teenager, where she had studied for exams, where she had dreamed about her future. She never imagined her future would look like this. But here she was, 32 years old, stroke survivor, new mother, single, living with her mother. Starting over felt impossible. Starting new felt terrifying. But she did not have a choice. The next morning, Rebecca arrived with documents, custody petition, divorce filing, restraining order. Brett filed his own custody petition, Rebecca said. He's claiming you're incapacitated, unable to care for Grace. He wants full custody with you getting supervised visitation only. Charlotte's stomach dropped. Can he do that? He can try, but we have evidence of his criminal conduct. We have security footage. We have testimony from Marcus about the affair. We have insurance fraud. Charlotte, he left you to die. No judge is going to give him custody. But my hand, my speech, what if judge thinks I can't take care of her? That's why we need to show you can. Speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy. We need you functional enough to testify clearly at the custody hearing. When is hearing? 72 hours. Charlotte's heart raced. 72 hours to learn to speak clearly enough to convince a judge she could parent. 72 hours to prove she was not too broken. I can't do that. Not possible. Rebecca sat down beside Charlotte. Yes, you can. You're going to work harder than you've ever worked. You're going to push through pain. You're going to do it for Grace. Can you do that? Charlotte thought about Grace in the NICU, about her tiny hand gripping Charlotte's finger, about the life she wanted to give her daughter. Yes, I can do that. The next 72 hours were brutal. Speech therapist came to Patricia's house. 8 hours of intensive work per day, tongue exercises, breath control, muscle memory. Say it again. I deserve better. I deserve better. Again, slower. Focus on the S sound. I deserve better. Again. I deserve better. Better. Again. I deserve better. Over and over, hundreds of times, until Charlotte's mouth hurt, until she wanted to scream. But she kept going, because in 72 hours she had to stand in front of a judge and convince him she could parent her daughter. Physical therapy for her right hand, grip exercises, fine motor skills. Occupational therapy taught one-handed everything, one-handed bottle feeding. Charlotte practiced with a doll. Awkward at first, the bottle kept slipping, but she learned. Cradled the doll in her right arm even though that arm was weak. Used her left hand to hold the bottle, one-handed diaper changing. Laid the doll on the changing table. Used her left hand to lift legs. Slide diaper under. Fastened tabs. Her right hand stayed pressed on the baby's chest, keeping her safe, keeping her still. It was possible. Harder, slower, but possible. Valerie visited, brought more pink hats, sat with Charlotte while she practiced feeding the doll. "You're doing good," Valerie said. "You're going to be a great mom." "I'm terrified." "All new moms are terrified. You just have extra reasons. But scared doesn't mean incapable." Charlotte practiced her testimony. Rebecca asked questions. Charlotte answered, again and again. "Mrs. Morrison, can you care for your daughter?" "Yes, I can hold her, feed her, change her, love her. That's all she needs." "What about your physical limitations?" "I have use of my left hand. My right hand is weak but healing. One hand is enough. Love doesn't need two hands." That phrase stuck with Charlotte. Love doesn't need two hands. Valerie had said it. Charlotte believed it. By the third day, Charlotte could speak mostly clearly, still slower than before, still some slurring under stress, but understandable. Her right hand could grip weakly, could support, could help. Not normal, but functional. It would have to be enough. The custody hearing was at the county courthouse. Rebecca dressed Charlotte carefully. Conservative dress, light makeup to hide the exhaustion, hair pulled back neatly. "You look strong," Rebecca said. "You are strong, remember that." Patricia and Daniel came for support. Jess took off work. Valerie came on her day off. Marcus was there, ready to testify. Brett was there too, with 3 lawyers, expensive suits, confident expressions. He looked at Charlotte across the courtroom. She looked back, saw the man who left her dying, the man who forged insurance documents, the man who chose a party over her life. She was not scared of him anymore. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Honorable Judge Patricia Williams, woman in her 60s, no-nonsense expression. Brett's attorney spoke first, painted Charlotte as impaired, showed medical records of the stroke, emphasized the speech problems, the motor control issues, suggested Charlotte needed psychiatric evaluation. "Your Honor, my client is concerned for his daughter's safety. Mrs. Morrison's stroke has left her with significant disabilities. She cannot properly grip objects. She has speech impediment. She's living with her mother because she cannot care for herself. How can she care for an infant?" Rebecca stood. "Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence." She showed the security footage. Brett in his office, reading Charlotte's text, walking toward the stairs, stopping, leaving. The courtroom was silent. Rebecca showed the bedroom camera footage. Brett's voice saying, "Oh shit," and walking away. Brett's lawyers objected. Judge overruled. "I'm going to see this." Rebecca showed the insurance application, the forged signature. The timeline increased 3 months before the stroke. "Your Honor, Mr. Whitmore didn't just fail to help his wife. He actively prevented help from arriving. He deleted her emergency text. He left her to die. And evidence suggests he financially benefited from her death. This is not a concerned father. This is a man who attempted to murder his wife and unborn child." Brett's lawyers objected loudly. Judge held up her hand. "Quiet. Ms. Thornton, do you have proof of these allegations?" "Yes, Your Honor. The police investigation is ongoing. Charges are pending. But the evidence is clear. Mr. Whitmore knowingly failed to render aid. He deleted emergency communications. He forged documents. and he had motive. Judge Williams looked at Brett. Mr. Whitmore, you're accused of serious criminal conduct. What do you have to say? Brett stood, smoothed his tie, put on his concerned face. Your Honor, this is all a misunderstanding. Yes, I was at a party. Yes, I didn't immediately respond to my wife's text. But Charlotte has a history of dramatic behavior. She's cried wolf before. How was I supposed to know this time was real? You read a text that said stroke, the judge said. That seems pretty specific. She's used that word before, when she had headaches, when she felt dizzy. I thought she was being emotional, pregnancy hormones. So you ignored a potential medical emergency because you thought your pregnant wife was being dramatic? Brett hesitated, realized his answer would not sound good either way. I made a mistake in judgment, but that doesn't make me a criminal. That's for the criminal court to decide. Right now we're discussing custody. Charlotte's turn to testify. She stood, walked to the witness stand, sat down, took a breath. Rebecca asked the questions they had practiced. Mrs. Morrison, can you care for your daughter? Charlotte spoke clearly, slowly. Yes, I can hold her with one arm. I can feed her with one hand. I can change her, bathe her. Love her, that's all Grace needs. One hand is enough when you love someone. What about your speech impediment? It's better, getting better every day. Grace doesn't care if I talk slowly. She just needs to hear my voice, needs to know I'm there. And your right hand? Charlotte held up her right hand, demonstrated the weak grip. It's not perfect, may never be perfect, but it works. I can support her. I can help. I'm learning, getting stronger. Brett's lawyer cross-examined, tried to rattle her, asked about the stroke, about her limitations, about whether she could truly handle an infant alone. Charlotte stayed calm, answered honestly. I'm not alone. I have my mother, my brother, my friends. I have support. Brett left me dying on the floor. I'd rather raise Grace with one hand in a village than leave her with a man who values his mistress more than his family. The courtroom was silent. Brett's lawyer had no response. Marcus testified next. Confirmed the affair, confirmed Brett's questions about life insurance payouts. He asked me if policies paid out for natural death during pregnancy. I thought he was just being morbid. Now I realize he was planning my friend's murder. The judge's expression grew harder. Finally, Judge Williams spoke. I've heard enough. This is one of the most disturbing custody cases I've seen. Mr. Whitmore, your conduct is beyond unconscionable. You left your wife and unborn child to die. You deleted emergency communications. You forged insurance documents. Even if we set aside the criminal allegations, your moral fitness to parent is in serious question. Brett's lawyers tried to interject. The judge silenced them. Custody is granted to mother. Full legal and physical custody. Mr. Whitmore, you're granted supervised visitation only, 2 hours per week in a supervised facility. You'll pay maximum child support under state guidelines. This order stands until the criminal proceedings conclude, at which point we'll reconvene. But let me be clear, Mr. Whitmore. If you're convicted, your parental rights will be terminated. Do you understand? Brett's face was red, furious. This is insane. That's my daughter. That's a daughter you endangered before she was even born. You're lucky I'm granting any visitation. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel came down. Charlotte sat there, unable to move. She won. Grace was hers. Brett could not take her. Rebecca hugged her. You did it. You won. Patricia was crying, Daniel too. Jess squeezed Charlotte's hand. Across the courtroom, Brett stared at Charlotte, pure hatred in his eyes. Charlotte stared back. She was not scared. She survived him once. She would survive whatever came next. Outside the courthouse, media waited. Somehow the story had leaked. Cameras everywhere. Reporters shouting questions. Rebecca handled it. My client appreciates your interest but has no comment at this time. She asked for privacy during this difficult period. But Charlotte stopped, looked at the cameras, thought about other women watching, other women ignored by doctors, dismissed by husbands, told they were being dramatic. Actually, I do have something to say. Rebecca looked surprised but nodded. Charlotte faced the cameras, spoke slowly, clearly. My husband left me dying while he went to his mistress's party. He deleted my 911 text. He tried to make sure no one could help me. I survived because I'm stubborn, because I fought, because good people helped me. She paused, took a breath. If you think something is wrong with your body, trust yourself. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. You're in danger. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Trust your gut. It might save your life. She walked away, cameras still flashing. But she said what she needed to say. If even one woman heard her, if even one woman trusted herself because of Charlotte's story, then surviving was worth it. 2 days after the custody hearing, Charlotte's phone would not stop ringing. News outlets wanted interviews. Podcasts wanted her story. Women's groups wanted her to speak. Charlotte ignored most of it. She was focused on Grace, on visiting the NICU every day, on preparing to bring her daughter home. Grace was gaining weight, 7 ounces since birth, off oxygen completely, taking bottles well. The doctor said another week maybe, then she could come home. Charlotte spent hours in the NICU, holding Grace skin to skin, feeding her with one hand, talking to her about the life they would have. Just you and me, baby girl, and Grandma Patricia and Uncle Danny and Auntie Jess. We have so many people who love us. We're going to be okay. Grace's eyes would open sometimes, deep blue, unfocused, but looking toward Charlotte's voice, knowing her mama. Those moments made everything worth it. One afternoon while Charlotte was at the NICU, Jess came running in, out of breath, excited. "Charlie, turn on the news. Marcus just held a press conference." They found a TV in the family waiting room. Local news was covering it live. Marcus stood at a podium outside Whitmore Tech headquarters. Cameras everywhere. He looked tired, guilty, determined. "I'm here today to tell the truth. Brett Whitmore has been having an affair with his executive assistant Amber Sinclair for 18 months. I knew about it." I said nothing. I'm ashamed of that silence. The reporter shouted questions. Marcus held up his hand. "There's more. Brett asked me about life insurance payouts 6 months ago, asked if policies paid out in cases of natural death during pregnancy. I thought he was just asking hypothetical questions. Now I realize he was planning to kill his wife." More shouting. Marcus's voice cracked. "I should have protected Charlotte, should have warned her. I chose my business partnership over doing what was right. I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry." A reporter asked, "Why come forward now?" "Because Charlotte almost died. Her baby almost died. Because I can't live with staying silent anymore. Brett Whitmore is not the man he pretends to be. He's dangerous, and the public deserves to know." Another reporter, "You're Brett's business partner. This will destroy the company." "Then it deserves to be destroyed. Some things matter more than money, like truth, like justice, like protecting innocent people from men who think they're above consequences." The press conference ended. Charlotte stared at the TV screen. Marcus just committed professional suicide, tanked his own company, destroyed his partnership, all to tell the truth. "He really did it," Jess said quietly. "He's actually trying to make it right." Charlotte did not know how to feel. Grateful. Angry it took so long. Sad that Marcus waited until she almost died. But he was trying. That counted for something. The next day brought another unexpected visitor. Amber Sinclair. Charlotte was in the NICU with Grace when security called. "Mrs. Morrison, there's a woman here asking to see you. Amber Sinclair. Should I send her away?" Charlotte's first instinct was yes, send her away. The mistress who celebrated her birthday while Charlotte died. But curiosity won. "Let her come up." Amber arrived 10 minutes later. She looked terrible. No makeup, red eyes, shaking hands, and noticeably pregnant. Charlotte stared. "How far along?" 8 weeks, Brett's baby." They sat in the NICU family room. 2 women, both pregnant by the same man, both learning who he really was. "I'm sorry," Amber said, started crying. "I'm so sorry, Charlotte. He told me you were separated, told me you were mentally unstable, told me you were using the pregnancy to trap him. I believed him. You saw me at company events, with my wedding ring, with my belly growing, and you believed we were separated?" Amber flinched. "I wanted to believe it. I was in love. I thought he loved me. I thought we'd be a family. And now? Now I know the truth. Brett showed me your text that night at my party. Showed me you said stroke. He said you were being dramatic. Said you did this all the time. Then he deleted it and ordered more champagne. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know he was leaving you to die. Charlotte wanted to hate her, wanted to scream, but looking at Amber's terrified face, she just felt tired. Why are you here? Because I'm pregnant. Because I just realized what happens when you become inconvenient to Brett Whitmore. You die, or you almost die, and he moves on to the next one. Amber pulled out her phone. I have evidence, texts, emails, receipts, every piece of proof of our affair, every conversation where he talked about you, every plan he made. I'm giving it all to the police. And to your lawyer, I want immunity and witness protection. But more than that, I want to make this right. I want him to pay. She handed Charlotte a flash drive. Everything's on here. Hotel receipts, flight records, messages where he talked about the life insurance, about how he was waiting for the problem to solve itself, about how patient he needed to be. Charlotte took the drive, felt the weight of it. This was everything Rebecca needed, everything to convict Brett. Why help me? Why turn on him? Amber put her hand on her barely showing belly. Because I'm 8 weeks pregnant. And yesterday, Brett told me to get an abortion. Said he wasn't ready to be a father. When I refused, he threatened me. Said if I didn't get rid of it, he'd make my life hell. Fire me, ruin my reputation. Destroy me. She looked up with tears streaming. That's when I understood. He doesn't love anyone. He uses people. And when they stop being useful, he erases them. You were supposed to die so he could collect insurance and start fresh with me. But you survived, so now I'm the problem, and he's trying to erase me too. What will you do? Testify, give evidence, raise my baby alone like you're doing. Hope that's enough to protect us both. Charlotte studied Amber, saw herself 6 months ago, trusting, naive, believing Brett's lies. The baby, do you know what you're having? Boy, probably. Too early to tell for sure. Grace has a brother then. Amber nodded miserably. I know you hate me. I hate myself. But maybe someday the kids can know each other. Maybe we can figure out some kind of peace. Charlotte thought about Grace, about this woman's baby boy, half-siblings who did not ask for any of this. Maybe, someday, after everything settles, we'll see. It was not forgiveness, not friendship, but it was not hatred either. Just two women trying to survive Brett Whitmore. That had to be enough. After Amber left, Charlotte gave the flash drive to Rebecca. Watched Rebecca's eyes widen as she reviewed the contents. This is everything. Text messages where Brett calls you unstable. Emails to Amber about life insurance payouts. Hotel records proving the affair. Charlotte, this guarantees a conviction. Good, Charlotte said. I want him in prison. Want him nowhere near Grace. He will be. I promise you he will be. 3 days later, police arrested Brett at his office. Charlotte watched the news coverage from Patricia's living room. Brett in handcuffs, being walked out of Whitmore Tech headquarters. Cameras everywhere. Charges, attempted manslaughter, reckless endangerment, insurance fraud, falsifying documents, conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. Bail set at $1 million. Brett posted it immediately, but the company board placed him on leave. Investors pulled funding. Stock dropped 42% in 1 day. Marcus assumed interim CEO role. Promised to investigate company finances, cooperate with authorities. Brett's empire was crumbling, not because Charlotte destroyed it, because he destroyed it himself by getting caught. Charlotte felt satisfaction, cold and sharp and earned. A week later, Grace came home, 6 pounds even, healthy, thriving. The NICU nurses cried when Charlotte carried her out. Valerie had knitted a pink hat and matching booties. Grace looked like a tiny, perfect doll. Patricia's house was ready, the nursery set up, baby supplies donated by neighbors and church members. More than Charlotte needed, more than she could have afforded. She carried Grace inside with her left arm. Her right arm was stronger now, could support, could help. But left arm did the work. One hand was enough. Charlotte laid Grace in the crib Daniel had assembled. watched her sleep. This perfect tiny person who almost did not exist, who fought to be born, who survived impossible odds, just like Charlotte. "Welcome home, baby girl," Charlotte whispered. "You're safe now. We both are." That night, Charlotte sat in the rocking chair Daniel had bought at a yard sale, held Grace against her chest, rocked gently, hummed a lullaby her mother used to sing. Her right hand rested on Grace's back. Light touch, supportive. Her left arm cradled Grace securely. It was awkward, different than she imagined when she was pregnant. She had pictured holding her baby with Brett beside her in the mansion they bought, with everything perfect. Instead, she was here, in her childhood bedroom, single mother, stroke survivor, living with her mother. But Grace was warm against her chest, breathing peacefully, safe, loved. That was all that mattered. And Charlotte's phone buzzed, a text from a number she did not recognize. "I saw your story on the news. Thank you for speaking up. I've been having bad headaches for weeks. My husband keeps telling me it's stress. After seeing what happened to you, I went to the ER today against his wishes. They found a brain aneurysm. I'm having surgery tomorrow. You saved my life." Charlotte saved the text, added it to a growing folder on her phone. Reasons I fought. There were 7 messages now, 7 women who trusted themselves because Charlotte spoke up. 7 women who got medical care, who might have died without Charlotte's story. She had survived for Grace, but maybe she survived for them too. Charlotte looked down at Grace sleeping, at this tiny person who depended on her completely. "I'm going to teach you to be strong," Charlotte whispered, "to trust yourself, to never let anyone make you small. You're going to know your worth from day one." Grace made a soft sound, her hand curled into a tiny fist. Charlotte smiled. "That's right, baby girl. Fighter from the start, just like your mama." 6 months passed. Grace was healthy, meeting milestones, rolling over, grabbing toys, laughing at Patricia's silly faces, babbling mama sounds that made Charlotte's heart explode. Charlotte's recovery continued. Right hand had 60% function. Now, could grip, could help with two-handed tasks. Still weaker than before, but functional. Her speech was 90% clear. Still slurred slightly under stress, but understandable, strong enough. She started freelance architecture work, small residential projects, worked from home while Grace napped. Patricia helped with childcare. Daniel helped with computer work. When Charlotte's right hand got tired, it was not the life Charlotte planned, but it was a good life, a safe life, a healing life. And then the criminal trial began. The courthouse was packed, media everywhere, public interest was massive. The case had everything: wealth, betrayal, attempted murder, a newborn who almost died. Charlotte sat in the gallery with Rebecca beside her. Patricia held Grace, who was surprisingly quiet, like she knew Mama needed her to be good today. Brett sat at the defense table with his expensive lawyers. He had lost weight, had shadows under his eyes. The confident CEO was gone. What remained looked desperate. Good. The prosecution laid out their case methodically. Security footage from the neighbor's camera. The bedroom camera showing Brett seeing Charlotte collapsed and walking away. The deleted text messages. The forged insurance application. Amber's testimony about Brett's statements during the party. Marcus testified. Broke down on the stand talking about how Brett asked about insurance payouts, about how he should have warned Charlotte. Dr. Greenberg testified about the 3 ER visits, about how Charlotte was systematically prevented from getting treatment that could have prevented the stroke. The evidence was overwhelming. Brett's lawyers tried to argue it was misunderstanding, panic, poor judgment, not intent to kill. But the jury saw the videos, saw Brett look at his phone, saw him start toward the stairs, saw him stop and walk away. Charlotte took the stand, last witness for prosecution. She wore a conservative dress, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back. She looked professional, capable, not like a victim. The prosecutor asked her to describe that night. Charlotte spoke clearly, told about folding laundry, about the numbness, about texting Brett, about lying on the floor for hours. "Mrs. Morrison, did you believe help was coming?" "Yes, I saw the red receipt, Thought Brett would call 911. Thought he would come home. Thought my husband would save me. But he didn't. No, he let me lie there. Let our baby suffer. Chose a party over our lives. How do you know he chose the party? The Instagram post? Him laughing with his Mistress 8 minutes after reading my text. He was not panicked. He was celebrating. Brett's lawyer objected. Judge overruled. Cross-examination tried to make Charlotte look vindictive. Suggested she was exaggerating. That maybe she had not been as sick as she claimed. Charlotte stayed calm. I had a stroke. My baby was born 2 months early. I have permanent nerve damage. I'm not exaggerating. I almost died. But you have history of dramatic behavior according to your husband. My husband gaslit me, made me think warning signs were anxiety, prevented me from getting help. That's not me being dramatic. That's him being abusive. The defense attorney had no response. Jury deliberations lasted 4 hours. Charlotte waited in a private room with her family. Grace nursed, Patricia paced. Daniel checked his phone obsessively for updates. Rebecca was confident. The evidence is too strong, they'll convict him on at least some charges. But Charlotte was nervous. Rich men got away with things. Brett had money, connections, good lawyers. What if the jury believed him? What if they decided it was just poor judgment? What if he walked free? The bailiff knocked. Jury has reached verdict. Everyone filed back into the courtroom. Charlotte's hands shook. Rebecca squeezed her left hand. The jury foreman stood. On the charge of attempted manslaughter, we find the defendant not guilty. Charlotte's heart sank. On the charge of reckless endangerment, we find the defendant guilty. Relief flooded through her. On the charge of insurance fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of falsifying documents, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Brett's face went white. Sentencing was set for 2 weeks later. Brett was remanded into custody. Bail revoked. He would wait for sentencing in jail. As they led him away in handcuffs, Brett looked at Charlotte, mouthed something that looked like, "This is your fault." Charlotte stared back, shook her head. "No, this is your fault, all of it." Sentencing day came. Charlotte brought Grace, wanted Brett to see what he almost destroyed, wanted him to see them thriving. The prosecutor recommended maximum sentence, 10 years, possible parole after 5. Brett's lawyers argued for leniency, said he was remorseful, said he made mistakes, said he deserved another chance. The judge was not convinced. "Mr. Whitmore, I've reviewed this case thoroughly. Your conduct is among the most egregious I've seen. You didn't just fail to help your wife during a medical emergency. You actively prevented help from arriving. You deleted emergency communications. You forged documents for financial gain. And evidence suggests you created conditions that made the stroke more likely." Brett tried to speak. The judge silenced him. "You made calculated choices. You chose your mistress over your wife's life. You chose money over morality. You chose convenience over the safety of your unborn child. Those choices have consequences. On the charge of reckless endangerment, I sentence you to 5 years in state prison. On the charges of insurance fraud and related counts, I sentence you to 3 years consecutive. Total sentence, 8 years. Eligible for parole after 5 years with good behavior." 8 years. Brett would be in prison until Grace was 8 years old, until she had no memory of him. Good. The judge continued, "Additionally, I'm ordering full restitution to Mrs. Morrison for medical expenses and damages. I'm terminating your parental rights pending the appeals process. You'll have no contact with Grace until she's 18 and chooses to contact you herself." Brett finally broke, started crying. "Please, she's my daughter. I made mistakes, but I love her. Please don't take her from me." "You took yourself from her, Mr. Whitmore, when you chose to let her mother die, when you endangered her life before she was born. You have no one to blame but yourself." The gavel came down. Brett was led away, still crying, still begging. Charlotte felt nothing, no satisfaction, no vindication, just tired relief that it was over. Grace babbled happily in Patricia's arms, oblivious to the proceedings. to the father who would be absent from her life. Rebecca hugged Charlotte. It's done. He can't hurt you anymore. Charlotte nodded, took Grace from her mother, held her close. We won, baby girl. We're safe now. Outside the courthouse, Charlotte gave another brief statement to the press. Justice was served today, not just for me, but for every woman who's been dismissed, every woman who's been gaslit, every woman who's been told she's being dramatic when she knows something is wrong. She paused, looked directly at the cameras. Trust yourselves, trust your bodies. If someone is preventing you from getting medical care, that's abuse. If someone is making you doubt your own health, that's abuse. You deserve better. You deserve safety. You deserve partners who protect you, not endanger you. She walked away, Grace in her arms, her family flanking her, media shouting questions she did not answer. She said what she needed to say. The rest was just noise. That evening, Charlotte sat in Patricia's backyard, Grace on a blanket beside her. 6 months old, healthy, happy, perfect. Charlotte thought about the past year, the stroke, the hospital, the trial, all of it. She thought about the woman she was before, the one who ignored warning signs, who made herself small, who believed her husband's lies. That woman was gone. The woman who remained was different, stronger, scarred but surviving, one-handed but capable. Charlotte picked up Grace with her left arm, held her against her chest. Grace grabbed Charlotte's hair with her chubby fists, yanked hard. Charlotte laughed. Ow! Strong grip, baby girl. That's good. Stay strong. Don't let anyone make you weak. Her phone buzzed. Another text from an unknown number. I've been following your case. You inspired me to leave my abusive marriage. Filed for divorce today. My kids and I are safe now. Thank you for showing me that surviving is possible. Charlotte saved the text. Number 9 in her Reasons I Fought folder. 9 women, 9 lives changed, 9 families safer. She survived for Grace, but she survived for them too. Charlotte looked up at the sky, sunset painting it orange and pink. Beautiful, peaceful. We made it, Daddy, Charlotte whispered to her father who had been gone 5 years. Grace and me, we made it through. I'm going to be okay. We're going to be okay. She felt no response, but she felt peace. That was enough. 1 year after the stroke, Charlotte stood in Patricia's kitchen making breakfast one-handed. Eggs, toast, coffee. Grace sat in her high chair babbling, 1 year old now, saying mama clearly, saying nana for Patricia, saying Danny for Daniel. No word for daddy. She did not know that word. Charlotte did not tell her about Brett, would not until Grace was old enough to ask. For now, Brett was just gone, absent, a non-presence in their lives. The settlement money from the insurance company came through. Charlotte used it to buy a small house. 2 bedrooms, tiny yard, nothing fancy, but theirs. She was moving in next month, starting truly fresh. Her and Grace alone. None. Well, not alone. Patricia visited daily. Daniel came over constantly. Jess was there every weekend. Valerie stopped by with hand-knitted items. Charlotte had a village. She was not alone. Charlotte's nonprofit was officially established. Stroke Awareness for Pregnant Women. SAPW, she ran it from home while Grace napped. Coordinated with hospitals. Created educational materials. Spoke at medical conferences. Her speech was mostly clear now. 95%. Still slowed slightly. Still difficult when she was tired. But strong enough to advocate. Strong enough to teach. She spoke to medical students about listening to patients, about not dismissing women's concerns, about how 3 ignored emergency room visits led to a preventable stroke. She spoke to pregnant women about warning signs, about trusting themselves, about getting second opinions if their partner discouraged medical care. She spoke to judges and lawyers about intimate partner violence taking many forms, about financial abuse, medical abuse, gaslighting as a weapon. People listen. SAPW partnered with 5 hospitals, trained ER staff, created screening protocols. In 1 year, they had documented 12 prevented strokes in pregnant women who were encouraged to stay for testing instead of being sent home. 12 women, 12 babies, all safe because Charlotte spoke up. Dating was not on Charlotte's mind. She was 33. Single mother, stroke survivor. Who would want that? But apparently people did. Jess tried to set her up with a coworker. Patricia mentioned the nice single dad at church. Daniel's gaming friend asked if Charlotte was seeing anyone. Charlotte said no to all of them. She was not ready, might never be ready. Learning to trust herself again was hard enough. Trusting someone else felt impossible. Her therapist said that was normal. Healthy even. Charlotte did not need to date, needed to heal first. So she focused on Grace, on her work, on building a life that felt safe. Maybe someday she would want romance again. Or maybe not. Either was okay. Grace's first birthday party was at Patricia's house. Small gathering, family, and close friends. Charlotte made the cake herself. One-handed baking was challenging, but possible. The cake was lopsided, frosting uneven, but covered in pink roses Grace loved. Grace sat in her high chair wearing a pink dress Valerie had sewn. Patricia held the cake while everyone sang happy birthday. Grace clapped her hands, laughed, smashed her fist into the cake, and got frosting everywhere. Perfect. Charlotte took pictures with her left hand. Her right hand helped stabilize the phone. Teamwork. She had learned that. Her hands worked together now. Left doing most, right supporting, balanced. After cake, Charlotte held Grace on her lap, rocked in the chair she brought from her childhood bedroom. The one that would go to the new house. Grace was getting heavy, 1 year old, 20 pounds, but Charlotte could still hold her easily in her left arm, could still rock her to sleep. "You saved me, baby girl," Charlotte whispered. "That night when you kicked so hard in my belly, when I was dying, you reminded me I had to survive, had to fight. You gave me reason." Grace's eyes drooped, fighting sleep, so stubborn. Just like Charlotte, Charlotte hummed the lullaby, the same one her mother sang, the same one her grandmother sang, passed down through generations of mothers and daughters. Grace finally gave in. Closed her eyes, went limp with sleep trust. That complete trust only babies have, knowing mama would keep her safe. Charlotte kept rocking, did not want to put Grace down yet, wanted to hold this moment, this perfect, peaceful moment. 1 year ago, Charlotte was lying on a nursery floor dying. Now she was here, healthy, free, holding her daughter at her first birthday party. She survived. That was everything. That night, after everyone left, Charlotte sat on Patricia's porch, Grace asleep inside, stars bright overhead. Her phone buzzed. Email notification. From Amber. Charlotte almost deleted it, but curiosity won. "Hi, Charlotte. I hope you're doing well. My son was born 3 months ago. Samuel. He's healthy, beautiful. I'm raising him alone like you are. Brett signed away his rights, so Sam will never know him. I think that's better. I wanted to reach out because maybe someday Sam and Grace could meet. They're half siblings. They didn't ask for this situation, but they're connected. No pressure. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking of you both. And I'm sorry for everything." Amber, Charlotte stared at the email, thought about Grace having a brother she did not know, about 2 kids who shared DNA and trauma. Maybe someday they could meet when they were older. When the wounds were not so fresh, Charlotte wrote back, "Hi, Amber. Congratulations on Samuel. I'm glad you're both healthy. Maybe when they're older, we can arrange a meeting. For now, let's focus on healing and raising our kids. But I don't hate you. I understand you. We both survived Brett. That's enough." Charlotte, she hit send, felt lighter somehow. Forgiveness was complicated. Charlotte did not fully forgive Amber, but she did not need to carry hatred either. Some things you just set down and walk away from. The next week, Charlotte met with a documentary filmmaker. Someone wanted to tell her story. Make a film about medical abuse in relationships. Charlotte was hesitant. "I don't want to be famous. Don't want pity." "It's not about fame or pity," the filmmaker said. "It's about education, prevention, showing women the signs, showing doctors what to look for. Your story could save lives." Charlotte thought about the 9 texts in her phone. 9 women who trusted themselves because of her story. "Okay, but I control the narrative. I approve everything. This is my story." "Absolutely. You're the expert on your own life." They started filming. Charlotte told everything, the stroke, The deleted text, the party, the trial, the recovery. She showed her right hand with limited function, demonstrated one-handed parenting, spoke with slight slur. She did not hide her scars. They were part of the story, part of the survival. The filmmaker was respectful, careful, made Charlotte feel heard. Maybe the documentary would help someone. Maybe another woman would see it and recognize the signs in her own relationship. That would make the exposure worth it. 6 months later, the documentary premiered. Deleted, One Woman's Survival of Medical Abuse. It aired on a major streaming platform, got millions of views, sparked conversations about intimate partner violence, about coercive control, about medical gaslighting. The National Domestic Violence Hotline reported a 30% increase in calls, women recognizing patterns in their relationships, getting help, getting out. Charlotte's nonprofit received so much attention they had to hire staff, expand programming, partner with more hospitals. She appeared on morning shows, spoke at conferences, did podcast interviews, always with the same message. Trust yourself. Get help. You're not crazy. You deserve safety. Brett was in prison, had tried to appeal, lost, would be locked up for another 4 years minimum. Good. He sent letters sometimes to Charlotte. To the judge, to anyone who would listen, claiming he was innocent, claiming he was misunderstood, claiming Charlotte ruined his life. Charlotte never read them, asked the prison to stop forwarding mail. She did not need his words in her head anymore. Grace was 18 months old now, walking, running, climbing everything, talking in 2-word sentences. Mama up? More juice. Read book. She was fearless, stubborn, determined. Charlotte saw herself in Grace, saw the fighter she had to become. One day Grace fell and scraped her knee, cried hard. Charlotte scooped her up with one arm, kissed the boo-boo, put on a Band-Aid. You're okay, baby girl, you're strong, you get back up. Grace sniffled, then wriggled down, went back to climbing the same thing she fell from. Charlotte laughed. That's right, try again. Don't let fall stop you. Grace made it to the top this time, raised her arms in victory. I did it. Yes, you did. I'm so proud. Charlotte thought about teaching Grace about her father someday, about the man who tried to kill them both. How do you explain that to a child? But she had years before that conversation. Years to heal more. Years to find the right words. For now, Grace just needed to know she was loved, protected, safe. That was enough. 2 years after the stroke, Charlotte stood in her own living room, the house she bought with the settlement money. Small, modest, but hers. Grace was 2.5, talking in full sentences. Mom, I want snack, please. Mama read story. Mom, I love you. That last phrase never got old. Charlotte had redecorated, made the house feel like home, painted walls bright colors, hung photos of Grace at every age, created a safe space full of light. She worked from her home office, freelance architecture and nonprofit management, made enough to support them. Not rich, but stable. Her right hand was about 70% functional now. Could grip reasonably well. Could help with most tasks. Still weaker than the left, but improving slowly. Her speech was 98% clear, only slurred when exhausted or stressed. Most people did not notice anymore. She was healing, not healed. Healing was ongoing, but better, stronger, whole in a different way than before. One evening, Charlotte got an email that made her cry from a medical journal. They wanted to publish an article about SAPW's screening protocols, about the 12 prevented strokes, about the impact of her advocacy. The email said, "Your work is changing medical practice. You're saving lives. Thank you for turning your trauma into transformation." Charlotte saved that email, printed it, hung it in her office. She survived for Grace, but she survived for this too. For impact, for change, for making sure what happened to her happened to fewer women. That gave meaning to the suffering, made it matter. Grace started preschool, 3 mornings a week. Charlotte walked her to class that first day. Mama stay? Grace asked. Big eyes worried. Mama has to go work, but I'll be back, always back, I promise. Promise, promise, I love you so much, baby girl. Love you too, Mama. Grace ran into the classroom. Fearless, ready for the world. Charlotte watched through the window, saw Grace playing, making friends, thriving. She thought about that night 2 years ago, lying on the nursery floor, texting for help, thinking she would die. If someone had told her then that she would survive, that she would thrive, that she would save lives and raise her daughter alone and be happy, she would not have believed it. But here she was, living proof that surviving was possible, that healing was real, that strength could be found in broken places. Charlotte walked to her car, drove to the SAPW office, went to work changing the world one prevented stroke at a time. She was not the woman who folded laundry in the nursery 2 years ago. That woman was gone. The woman who remained was different. Scarred, one-handed, slower speaking, but stronger, wiser, free. Charlotte Morrison, survivor, mother, advocate, fighter. She was enough, more than enough. She was everything. That night, Charlotte put Grace to bed, read 3 stories, sang the lullaby, kissed her forehead. Mama, Grace said sleepily. Yes, baby. You're the best mama ever. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. You're the best Grace ever. Grace giggled, closed her eyes, fell asleep holding Charlotte's hand. Charlotte sat there in the dark room, watching her daughter sleep, listening to her breathe. 2 years ago, Charlotte thought she would never hear these sounds, never know this joy, never hold her baby. But she fought, she survived, she made it through impossible odds. And now she had this perfect peaceful moment, this beautiful daughter, this hard-won life. Charlotte whispered to the darkness, I thought losing him would destroy me. Instead, losing him gave me back myself. That was the truth, the real truth. Not revenge or justice or vindication. Just the simple truth that she was better without him. Safer, stronger, more herself. She survived. That was everything. Charlotte kissed Grace's forehead one more time, stood up carefully, walked to the door. At the doorway, she looked back. Grace sleeping peacefully, safe, loved, protected. This was worth it, all of it, every moment of pain, every hour of recovery, every difficult step, because it led here, to this moment, to this life, to this love. Charlotte turned off the light, closed the door softly, walked to her own room. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more work, more healing, more growth. But tonight she would sleep, peaceful, safe, free. The numbness was gone. She was alive, truly alive. And that was everything. Bandungroy. Toithian, Chapter 10. De Toiviet, Chapter 10 Hoan Shinye. 2 years after the stroke. Charlotte stood in her new living room folding laundry. Tiny clothes, 2-year-old size. Carter's brand, Grace's favorites with the rainbow patterns. She picked up a shirt with her left hand, folded it carefully, set it in the basket, reached for the next one. Her right hand helped, held the basket steady, not perfect, not the same as before, but working, supporting, enough. Charlotte paused, looked at her hands, left hand strong and capable, right hand weaker but present, both working together now. 2 years ago, her right hand had gone numb while folding baby clothes. That numbness had changed everything, destroyed her marriage, nearly killed her, left permanent damage. But standing here now, in her own house, folding her daughter's clothes, Charlotte realized something. The numbness was gone, not just physically, emotionally too. For years with Brett, she had felt numb, going through motions, ignoring warning signs, making herself smaller and smaller until she almost disappeared completely. The stroke had forced her to feel everything. Pain, fear, rage, grief, all of it. And somewhere in feeling everything, she had found herself again. Grace ran into the room, 2 years old now, all energy and opinions and stubborn determination. Mama, I hungry. We just ate lunch, baby girl. But I hungry now, Charlotte laughed. Okay, apple slices? Yes, and peanut butter. Charlotte walked to the kitchen. Grace followed, chattering about her morning at preschool, about her friend Emma, about the playground, about everything. Charlotte cut apple slices with her left hand. Her right hand held the apple steady. Teamwork, she had learned that. Nothing had to be perfect. It just had to work. She spread peanut butter on the slices, arranged them on Grace's favorite pink plate, the one Valerie had given her for her second birthday last month. Grace climbed into her chair, grabbed an apple slice with both hands, took a huge bite. "Thank you, Mama." "You're welcome, baby. Use your napkin, please." Charlotte sat across from Grace, watched her eat, marveled at this tiny person who saved her life just by existing. Grace looked up, smiled with peanut butter on her face. "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, Grace. Oh, much. More than the moon? More than the moon and all the stars. That's a lot. You're worth a lot." Grace went back to her apples. Charlotte sipped her coffee. Peaceful afternoon moment. Nothing special. Everything special. This was the life she almost never had. The one Brett tried to erase. The one she fought for with everything she had. And it was better than anything she had imagined. That afternoon, Charlotte had a video call scheduled. TED Talk organizers. They wanted her to speak at the main conference. Not TEDx. The real TED. Charlotte was nervous. Her speech was mostly clear now, but not perfect. What if she slurred on stage? What if people did not understand? But she thought about the women watching. The ones who needed to hear her story. The ones who needed permission to trust themselves. She accepted. The talk would be about medical abuse in intimate relationships, about coercive control, about the invisible ways partners could isolate and endanger you. Charlotte spent weeks preparing, practiced her speech until she could say it clearly even when tired, worked with a speaking coach, made sure every word landed. The day of the talk, she wore a blue dress, professional, strong. She walked on stage in front of 2,000 people, cameras recording for millions more online. Her hands shook slightly. Left hand gripped the microphone. Right hand hung at her side. Visible. She did not hide it. "My husband tried to kill me by doing nothing," Charlotte began. Her voice was clear, strong. "He read my text that I was having a stroke. He saw me collapsed on the floor. And he walked away, went to his mistress's birthday party while I lay dying." The audience was silent, listening. Charlotte told her story, all of it. The warning signs she ignored. The ER visits where Brett convinced her to leave. The night of the stroke. The deleted text. The 7 hours alone. Grace's premature birth. The trial. The recovery. She held up her right hand. "This hand does not work like it used to. Permanent nerve damage. My speech is slower than before. I have scars you can see and scars you cannot see." She paused, looked at the audience. "But I survived. And I want you to know that surviving is possible. Leaving is possible. Healing is possible. Building a new life is possible. If your partner prevents you from getting medical care, that is abuse. If your partner makes you doubt your own health, that is abuse. If your partner isolates you from doctors or friends or family, that is abuse." Charlotte's voice grew stronger. "You are not crazy. You are not dramatic. You are not overreacting. Trust yourself. Trust your body. Get help. Get out. You deserve safety. You deserve partners who protect you, not endanger you. I thought losing my husband would destroy me. Instead, losing him gave me back myself. I am not the same woman I was before the stroke. That woman is gone. The woman standing here is different. Scarred, slower, but stronger, wiser, free. And if I can survive what happened to me, you can survive what you are going through. There is life after abuse. There is loss after trauma. There is strength in broken places." Charlotte finished. Stepped back. The applause was deafening. She had done it. Told her truth to the world. Watched her voice to help others find theirs. After the TED Talk, Charlotte's nonprofit exploded. SAPW expanded to 30 hospitals across 15 states. They trained thousands of medical professionals, created standard screening protocols, saved lives. The documentary about Charlotte's story won awards, sparked national conversation, led to policy changes in how domestic violence was recognized and reported. Charlotte was invited to testify before Congress about coercive control, about medical abuse as intimate partner violence. about the need for better training and resources. She stood in front of senators and representatives, told her story again, answered questions, advocated for change. Laws were written, the Charlotte Morrison Act, requiring healthcare providers to screen for intimate partner violence, protecting patients who needed to stay for testing against partner interference. Charlotte cried when she heard the law passed. Her trauma was creating change. Her pain had purpose. Grace started kindergarten, 5 years old now. Smart, funny, fierce, everything Charlotte hoped she would be. On the first day of school, Charlotte walked Grace to the classroom. Grace wore a purple backpack almost as big as she was. "Mama, I'm scared." "I know, baby. Being scared is okay. Being brave is doing it anyway." "You're brave, Mama." "You're brave too, Grace. You're the bravest person I know." Grace hugged Charlotte tight. "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, baby girl. I'll be right here at 3 o'clock. Always." "Promise, promise." "I never break promises to you." Grace ran into the classroom, turned back once, waved, then disappeared into her new adventure. Charlotte stood outside the classroom window, watched Grace make friends, saw her laughing, playing, thriving. 5 years ago, Brett had tried to erase Grace before she was born, tried to collect insurance money and start fresh with his mistress. Now Grace was here, alive, happy, loved, growing into an amazing human. Brett was still in prison, would be for another year. He had sent letters asking to see Grace. Charlotte refused every time. Grace did not need a father who tried to kill her. She had uncles and grandfathers and male role models who actually showed up, who actually cared. That was enough. That night, Charlotte got a text from a number she had not seen in years. Amber. "Hi, Charlotte. I know we have not talked in a while, but Samuel is starting kindergarten too. He asked about his sister today, asked why he does not have a sister like the other kids. I did not know what to tell him. Would you be open to the kids meeting? No pressure, just wanted to ask." Charlotte stared at the text. Grace had a brother, half-brother, Samuel, 5 years old, same age as Grace. They shared deeply, shared trauma, shared a father who hurt them both. Charlotte thought about keeping them apart forever, protecting Grace from that connection, from that reminder. But Grace deserved to know she had a sibling, deserved the choice to know Samuel or not. Charlotte texted back, "Grace does not know about Samuel yet. Let me tell her first. Then maybe we can arrange a meeting." "Supervised, short. See how it goes." Amber responded immediately. "Thank you. Really, thank you." That night, Charlotte talked to Grace about siblings, about how families came in many shapes, about how Grace had a brother she had never met. "A brother? I have a brother?" "Yes. His name is Samuel. He's 5 years old like you. He lives with his mama." "Why I never met him?" "It is complicated, baby. Adult stuff, but if you want to meet him, we can arrange that." Grace thought about it. "Does he like dinosaurs?" Charlotte laughed. "I do not know. We can ask." "Okay, I want to meet him, but just for a little bit. Just for a little bit. We can do that." 2 weeks later, Charlotte and Grace met Amber and Samuel at a park. Neutral territory. Public. Safe. Amber looked different. Older, tired, but determined. Samuel hid behind her legs, shy. Grace marched right up. "Hi, I'm Grace. I'm 5. I like dinosaurs. Do you like dinosaurs?" Samuel peeked out. "Yeah, I like T-Rex. T-Rex is cool, but Triceratops is cooler." "No way!" And just like that, they were playing, running to the playground, arguing about dinosaurs, being kids. Charlotte and Amber sat on a bench, watched them. Two women who survived the same man, who were trying to raise kids despite impossible circumstances. "Thank you for this," Amber said quietly. Samuel really wanted a sibling. Grace did too. She just did not know it. They sat in silence, not comfortable, not friends, but not enemies either. "How are you doing?" Charlotte asked finally. "Better. Therapy helps. So does distance. Brett tries to call from prison. I do not accept the calls. Samuel does not know his father. I tell him his dad made bad choices and is not in our lives. That is enough for now." "Same. Grace does not know about Brett. I will tell her someday, when she is old enough to understand, but not yet. Do you ever wonder what if? Amber asked. What if Brett had been different? What if we had never met him? Charlotte thought about that all the time. But then I remember, I would not have Grace. You would not have Samuel. Our kids would not exist. So I cannot wish away the past. I can only build a better future. Amber nodded. That is wise. I learned it from therapy. They laughed, both broken by the same man, both healing in the same ways. On the playground, Grace and Samuel were playing tag, laughing, being siblings. Charlotte watched them, felt something shift in her chest. This was forgiveness. Not for Brett, never for Brett, but for Amber, for herself, for the choices they made when they did not know better. They were both doing better now, both protecting their kids, both surviving. That was enough. Grace's 5th birthday party was big. All her preschool friends, family, neighbors. The house Charlotte bought was full of balloons and laughter. Charlotte made a dinosaur cake, lopsided, frosting uneven, but covered in plastic dinosaurs Grace loved. Everyone sang happy birthday. Grace blew out the candles, made a wish. What did you wish for, baby? Can't tell, or it won't come true. Grace smashed into the cake, got frosting everywhere. Perfect. That evening after everyone left, Charlotte gave Grace her special present, a photo album, pictures of Grace at every age. Newborn in the NICU, 6 months, 1 year, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is your story, baby girl. You were born early, you were tiny, but you were strong, you fought, just like your mama. Grace looked at the pictures. I was really small. You were, but look at you now, big and strong and brave. Was I sick? Charlotte thought about how to explain. You had to stay in the hospital for a while when you were born, but the doctors and nurses took good care of you, and Mama visited every single day. Did Daddy visit? There it was, the question Charlotte had been waiting for. No, baby, your daddy was not there. Why not? Because he made bad choices, choices that hurt me and hurt you, so he is not in our lives. Will I ever meet him? Maybe someday if you want to, but not until you are older, not until you are ready. Grace thought about this. Do I need a daddy? No, baby. You need people who love you and keep you safe. You have Nana and Uncle Danny and Auntie Jess and so many people who love you. That is what matters most. Okay. Grace went back to looking at pictures. I was really cute when I was a baby. You were, and you are even cuter now. Grace hugged Charlotte. You are the best mama ever. Charlotte held her, breathed in the smell of her hair, felt her heartbeat. This miraculous child who almost never existed. You are the best Grace ever. That night, Charlotte sat on her porch, Grace asleep inside, stars bright overhead, cool breeze. She thought about the woman she was 5 years ago, married to Brett, pregnant, painting the nursery alone, ignoring warning signs, making herself small. That woman would not recognize Charlotte now. Single mother, advocate, survivor, strong in ways she never imagined. Charlotte had learned things the hard way, that love without safety was not love, that partners who isolated you did not protect you, that trusting yourself was the most important thing. She had learned that surviving was not enough. You had to heal, had to grow, had to transform. She had learned that broken things could be made whole, just differently than before. Charlotte looked at her hands, left hand strong, right hand weaker, both essential, both working together. She was like her hands, broken in some ways, healed in others, different than before, but whole. Her phone buzzed, another text from her Reasons I Fought folder. She had 37 now, 37 women who trusted themselves because Charlotte spoke up, 37 women who got help, who survived. This one said, 5 years ago I saw your TED Talk. It made me leave my abusive marriage. Today I graduated law school. I am going to help other women like you helped me. Thank you. Charlotte saved the text, 38 now. She was not a victim anymore, not a survivor either. Those words were too small. She was Charlotte Morrison, mother, advocate, fighter, transformer. She took trauma and made it into change. took pain and made it into purpose, took broken pieces and built something new. Charlotte walked inside, checked on Grace one more time. She was sleeping peacefully, arms spread out, taking up the whole bed, confident even in sleep. Charlotte pulled the blanket up, kissed Grace's forehead, whispered, I love you, baby girl. You saved me. You gave me reason to fight. You gave me reason to live. Thank you. Grace stirred slightly, smiled in her sleep, settled deeper into dreams. Charlotte walked to her own room, looked around at the life she built. Small house, secondhand furniture, nothing fancy, but safe. Hers. Full of love, she had survived, had healed, had grown, had transformed. The numbness that started in her right hand 5 years ago led her here, to this life, to this strength, to this peace. If someone had told her on the nursery floor that night that she would survive and thrive and save lives, she would not have believed it. But she did. She made it through. She fought. She won. Not because Brett lost, but because Charlotte found herself. She climbed into bed, set her alarm. Tomorrow she had a conference call with legislators, then Grace's parent-teacher meeting, then nonprofit work, then dinner with Grace, then bedtime stories. Normal life, beautiful life, hard-won life. Charlotte closed her eyes, thought about her father, about how he would be proud, about how she became the strong woman he raised her to be. I made it, Daddy, she whispered to the darkness. I really made it. She felt peace, complete and whole. The kind of peace that came from knowing who you were and what you survived. Charlotte drifted to sleep, dreamed of Grace laughing, of dinosaurs and playgrounds, of a future full of light. The numbness was gone. She was alive, truly alive, finally alive, and that was everything. If Charlotte's story moved you, I need your help spreading this message. Right now, someone watching might be in a similar situation. Someone might be ignoring warning signs. Someone might have a partner who dismisses their health concerns. Your like helps this story reach them. Your comment lets other survivors know they are not alone. Your share could literally save a life. And if you subscribe, you will hear more stories like this. Stories of survival, stories of strength, stories that remind us we are never as powerless as we think. Charlotte fought for her daughter, for herself, for every woman who has been told she is being dramatic. Honor her fight. Hit that like button. Leave a comment telling Charlotte what her story means to you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe so you never miss a story that could change everything. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And remember, if something feels wrong, trust yourself. You are not crazy. You deserve safety. You deserve better.